muffin. That's one of the more simple, basic recipes that we've got in the game. And we've got other things. We've got other staples like sugared cranberry. So I'll just make a couple of those. So that's cranberries plus sugar. That'll make cranberry sugar, and I can sell those in the market. Those are really nice, profitable recipes. We got some more exotic recipes. We've got wasabi nuts, wasabi dressing, which mixes wasabi paste. There's a couple of staples as well. So things like wasabi paste that I just touched upon. There's rice flour. There's lotus paste, and then we've also got some like really cool recipes too. More exotic things like wasabi dressing, wasabi rice chips, lotus bun. The lotus buns are really great, and I think players are really going to get a lot of. I'll go into the market right now, and I'll sell a few of these right now, and you can sort of see that these are going to be a great addition to the game.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I was going to ask then. I guess value-wise, they're certainly going to hold up compared to existing recipes, eh?
I actually, one of our design goals, like I was mentioning, was to make those really profitable for players. And so, what we're still working out the final numbers on it, but I think players will be really happy with the way that the water crop recipes turn out.
Oh, okay, that's fantastic. Now, just to take it back for a moment, just before we were discussing the crafting there, you had mentioned we'll be getting the albino water buffalo with the early access tomorrow. Once the early access is passed, are we going to see many other animals on the horizon, or?
Absolutely, and like I said, the river is really we're starting out with the water buffalo, and I've got something else that I'll show you in a second too. I think just kind of rewinding a little bit, there's one final part that I wanted to show when it came to the water recipes,
okay,
and water farming, and then we'll dive right into the animals.
Oh yeah, no, please, yes.
Okay, so players of the county fair, again, I didn't pull up any prize crops originally, but when I showed this, but now what you can see is earlier in an earlier session, I did pull up 3 prize cranberries, and I did pull up a prized Indian lotus. So one of the big advantages of playing the river is that now you have access to even more crops that are going to give you an edge, and so it's going to be really, really valuable for those players that are playing the county fair. So,
oh, that's great. Very cool.
So yeah, there you go.
Okay, great. So, okay, sorry, as I take a look down my list of questions here, I just, I was really curious about the animal situation there we were just discussing. So, as you said, you're just about to show us something here, it looks like.
Yeah, I guess we can just sort of switch right into that. So one of the things that we've got in the game now, and this is something that players have been asking for a long, long time. It's one of the most popular animals in FarmVille 1. It's part of the classic FarmVille image, and we wanted to get it right. We wanted to do it right, and so now we finally got ducks going into FarmVille 2. And so
terrific.
Now we've got a couple of baby ducks. One of the things that's really cool about it is you'll see that not only do they swim on the water, but they also work on land. So they'll walk around and waddle around in sort of a cute way. Here I've got a couple of babies. You can sort of see a more grown-up duck over there on the side. Here's a grown-up wood duck as well. So.
And it looks like the ducks are the only ones who won't be on land and swimming. I saw our character there just dive right in too, eh?
He'll he or she, I should say. We have a lot of women that love playing FarmVille too. The characters, there's shallow water and there's deep water, and he'll go out for a little swim as well, which is a lot of fun. The animators really saw this as like a labor of love for the game, and really that extends to the entire team. It's something that's really a lot of fun.
Sure, absolutely. I was seeing there as you kind of pick them up and drop them back in there. There's just a fantastic animation where they kind of sploosh right in the water.
Yeah, it's animation's actually a really important part of the feeling of FarmVille 2. What I'm actually showing right now is kind of a behind-the-scenes look. We like I said, 3D graphics and is a really, really big part of FarmVille 2. It's part of what the appeal of the game and what creates a lot of the strong emotions that players have for an affinity that players have for the animals. And so here's the duck. Doing some water. I was just showing him walk around there a little bit too. And here he is again. One thing that's really interesting about our ducks and our animals in general. Oh, here's the baby. It's pretty cute. Kind of, I think people that know about rubber duckies will kind of see some influences in there.
Oh, cute.
I was actually going to say, and I'll kind of I'll rewind a little bit so we can go back to the adult. One of the things about FarmVille 2 is that all of our animals, or most of our animals, I should say, are actually based on the female versions. And so you'll notice that like all of our cows have udders. They're the female versions of cows. We don't have bulls in the game yet. And also on top of that, we've got all the chickens in the game are hens, so we haven't had a rooster yet. The ducks, what you'll notice is that the ducks are actually males, and we also did that with turkeys, and we did that with peacocks earlier as well. So the reason for that was that the male versions of these animals, ducks and turkeys and peacocks, they're a lot more colorful, they're a lot more ornamental, and we kind of felt like that was something that was also really, really important to the world. A lot of people comment on the color of FarmVille 2 and how important that is, and we kind of felt like as we were going through the process of designing all of the various ducks and again going back to turkeys and peacocks, that we decided to deviate and go with the male versions here. So what you're actually seeing here is a mallard drake. It's not a duck, or hen, I should say, which is what they're also called. And this one's really interesting too. This will be available for coins in the marketplace, so this won't be something that's we've got a variety of ducks that we're adding to the game. We're going to start with 4, and the mallard's one of them. I showed you the wood duck a little bit earlier too. Mm-hmm. And there's actually over 40 breeds of ducks in the world when we were doing our research, and so it was really impressive when we went through and sort of made our final selections for what was going to end in the game. We learned a lot about ducks. So.
Very cool. Now, the animations, they just seem really natural, really cool. Was there anything specific that you guys were modeling the animations for the ducks on?
Yeah. So, one of the things that our animation team does when we're putting animals in the game and when we're creating the animations for them is the first we do it in layers. And sort of the first layer that we look at is we study real life video reference. And we've gone on, actually I have a funny story. I live here in the Bay Area, and I've got a pool in my backyard, and last summer, what would happen was I get up in the morning, and there was actually 2 ducks that would just be in our pool in the backyard, and it was kind of this like weird Tony Soprano moment. And it was interesting because I would. They kind of became like I've got kids, and they kind of became like friends of the kids, and the kids loved them, and I kind of thought that they were cute and they were interesting, and I started to study them and learn more about ducks and really kind of grow fond of the ducks that showed up in our backyard, and anyway, so real life experience and sort of drawing from real life reference is kind of one of the layers that we build into the animations that you see that players will see in FarmVille 2. And then another layer is if we just studied reality, it'll come out a certain way. But what we like to do is put a little bit of fun and put a little bit more personality and pizzazz into the animals. And you'll sort of notice that there's sort of a lot of fun in all the animals. So the cows, the goats, and with the ducks, one of the layers that we tried to put in and into their personalities was we were kind of looking at at comedians, because if you kind of go back and through the history of animals and entertainment, ducks are sort of the most funniest animals, and so we kind of looked at comedians as we were doing this, and we kind of went back to there's a Canadian comedian that we really like called Martin Short, and so there's a little bit of his personality that's like blended in as we were there he is, Ed Grimley, creating the ducks for FarmVille 2. So
well, that's very cool. That's great. And really, I mean, if anyone really wants to see Ed Grimley, while you're waiting for the ducks to be added, go look up SCTV. It's probably on Netflix. You'll love it. But, okay. Sorry. So as I take a look here through my notes, I do see that we also have a number of audience questions that were submitted over the last few days to Zynga through the Facebook page. Would you feel like taking a look at some of those, Daryl?
Yeah, I would love to.
That would be great. Okay, so the first question we have here, and actually it's a very good question, is will the river be a time-limited event, or is it kind of a feature that's here to stay for FarmVille 2?
So the river will not be a time limited event. The river is something that it's an expansion, it's an addition to the board. We're seeing it as something that is going to become a really really nice addition to the core of FarmVille 2, and it's going to be something that's going to be there for years to come.
Okay. Now you've dubbed it's not just dubbed the river, as I've seen a few people kind of mentioning it as online, but it's actually the Appaloosa River. So why Appaloosa?
Okay, that's a great question. There's a horse in FarmVille 2, and it was actually the very first horse that we put in the game, and it's called the Appaloosa horse. And the Appaloosa horse is a really it's got an interesting story behind it. It's an American reference. There's actually a river in Washington State called the Palouse River. And when the settlers saw sort of some of the wild horses that were native to the Palouse River, they started calling them the Palouse horse. And through slang, it became Appaloosa horse. And so it was kind of like related to the idea of the Palouse River and the story of the Appaloosa horse. And that really kind of drew the inspiration and the connection that we thought was would be a lot of fun.
Well, that's great. I love how it all ties together like that. That's really cool. Okay. Next question I have here. I think we've partly answered this one through the course of the evening here, but still, there's some angles to this that we can definitely touch on. Water has always played an important role in FarmVille 2. You use it to grow crops, you use it in certain recipes, and now you have this body of water running through your farm. So the question is, how will the river affect the existing water mechanic in the game?
Right. Great question. And that's something that we're going to continually be looking at. So the first part of that has to really do with the fact that we've got the water crops themselves don't require water to grow. And that's the biggest part of that equation to start with. I think that there's a really good natural connection between the water, the well system, the way that the river works. And we're always going to be looking at making improvements to the game system. And so, keep playing. We may have some secrets in there for you in the coming months.
Perfect. Now, actually, we also have a few questions here about how to unlock the river. So, first question we have is: will players need to unlock other expansions before they can access this one?
So when players come in, we're actually making and like. Players in the past couple of weeks have probably noticed that we've eased the requirements to get to the edge of the river. And when players come in next week, if they haven't got there, they'll have the opportunity to get that for free. And so we really want to make water farming a really important part of the core of FarmVille 2, and we're making it as easy as possible to get there, and so that many of our players will be able to enjoy it. So there is one requirement, and that's that it's a level 15 requirement. So any players that get to level 15 will be able to enjoy the river.
Okay, perfect. And anyone who's not there yet, now they have something to work towards. Great. Now, this one's kind of a two-parter, and I think you sort of answered it in the last question, but if we kind of look at it in terms of the early access, how much will it cost to unlock the river? So I guess in terms of early access, and then once you're past that, once you're into the actual game, and it's, as you said, it's free to get through to the expansions to it, but then what will the requirements be?
So the early access, which is coming out, which players will have the opportunity for tomorrow. The package is coming out. That includes the limited edition albino water buffalo. It also includes the boat. It includes the ability to get early access to the river. I don't know what the final cost of that is. I think we're still working it out, but it's discounted, and so I believe it's under $100 right now.
Okay. And now this is just kind of the second part to that question that a few people were asking. In the past, some people have felt that the expansions were just, they're kind of pricey, and I'm sure that's a subject of contention that does come up from time to time. So I'm just wondering if you can explain a bit about the decision-making process that goes on when you do add expansions and things like that, and when there is land to unlock, sort of how that tiered structure is created.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Jim, and it's something that comes up a lot from our players. Is just the amount of challenge that it's taking to sort of get to some of the expansions, and so we're constantly looking at that. We're always looking at ways to balance the requirements for getting space, and also we don't want to make it too easy because then players don't have players won't feel a challenge and it's not fun. And so it's always a constant line that we're trying to ride in order to give the best play experience for as many players as we possibly can. So lately